timelines is she calls it DNA sequencing because she's actually been able to study that scientifically. She says that we are incorrect about calling it timelines, but that's just how we know it. Is she calls it DNA sequencing? That's how we know it as timelines, but she calls it DNA sequencing. Okay, so thank you guys for being here on Codebreaker Real Talk. Ooh, we have Audrey Williams, and I have her book here. Walters, sorry, Audrey Walters, Space School Lessons. I finally got it in the mail. I have Tom Althouse, my co-host. Thanks, guys, for being on. So I was just asking Audrey on page 240. She's talking about the main branch timeline. Then we have a parallel reality. And from there, the main or birth timeline are level. Then on the other side, I know you may not be able to see this diagram, guys, but on the other side, there's like a slanted version here. And let me just let Susan in. And then it says meeting of another birth time, like on slanted. And then it says merging of two or more timelines. Then we have another parallel reality there. Hi, Susan. And then on the bottom, she writes here main branch timeline and then sub branch timeline and then another reality on the other side. And the note says same color and different outcomes, different color timelines. So we're all, even though we're here on Earth, we're all in different timelines, right? Audrey, what did you want to
Yes.
talk about? Yeah.
Yes. So when we get into birth timeline, it is the main timeline that you are born into. Like that is the timeline that you should be on, and that is what your soul wanted to be born, or in that dimension, that reality, and that time stream right there. Now, there is instances where some people can actually shift into what is known as a parallel reality. And parallel realities is very similar to the birth timeline. And the parallel reality, like for an example, and I talk about this example in my book, where a parallel reality, let's say for an example, a group of people want to meet in a coffee shop. So they meet in a coffee shop in the birth timeline, but in the alternate reality, they don't meet in a coffee shop. They meet probably at a restaurant. And but it's the same conversation, same topic, such it's just in a different location. That is an alternate. I mean, that's a parallel timeline. An alternate timeline is where let's say a group of individuals, the in the birth timeline, they have that meeting at a coffee shop, where in the alternate reality, they don't even have that meeting whatsoever. It's not even discussed, it's not even talked about, but there might be something that occurs something else. Like it's the alternate timeline. Let's say, like, it's the alternate timeline. Let's say, like, what would happen if this meeting never occurred? That is what an alternate timeline is. And then there is certain types of parallel realities where they can split constantly to the point where they can actually become alternate timelines. Now, when you were beginning talking about DNA sequencing, is also known as quantum mechanics sequencing. And what is mostly essentially is essentially preparing a genetic mainframe, or what is known as a physical body, to order to reincarnate into an actual timeline, or where a soul actually wants a timeline and a birth timeline. But a lot of them do use timelines. It's just that when you're dealing with DNA sequencing, they're mostly talking about how a person can actually reincarnate into an actual physical body through quantum mechanics, if that
That,
makes sense.
that makes sense. And that's, a lot of people say, well, we do have various alters, but at the same time, we also have different clones. I know that I have alters and I have clones. I do have a double for sure. I have seen myself in my dream. I go to sleep here, right, on my bed, but in the dream, I wake up on the opposite side of the bed and I'm looking at myself come in from the gym. And I have my headphones on still. I'm wearing all my blacks. I usually wear all black. And then I come into the room and then I go and I sit down on the bed and I give my back to myself and I'm like, tell myself, don't go to sleep. I tell myself, don't go to sleep. And then I wake up. So it's not the first time. I've seen myself many times. I've also have been told that there's people that look like me here. And it's really interesting how, would you agree with me? I tell people that whatever we do here affects what is in the on the flip side, you know, on when our dream time, and then our dream time also there's bleed throughs here as well. Um, Another example that I can give, and then I want you guys to give examples or whatever you want to talk about, Audrey, is that when I was in Mars during the one of the big wars, I ended up, you know, I helped one person escape there. Um, but when I landed, I had no legs, one arm was missing, and half my face was missing. And so there was another person that picked me up and took me to my star family to revive me, which I didn't want her to take me. But here, the bleed through was that I have titanium now on my back from the anthrax shot that they gave me in the military. Um, and I've had 32 surgeries. Okay, just I can number, I can tell you all about it later, but it's just really interesting how parts of my body have been affected and I've had surgeries on them and it's just weird. Like it seems like we're living a sci-fi. Don't you guys think we're like kind of living Star Wars, Star Trek, you know, kind of a thing.
I find it interesting that there's that biblical thing that talks about you'll never be given, I don't know if it's actually biblical, that you'll never be given any more than you can handle. And I kind of believe that. And it's almost like I wonder if we're buffered ahead of time to have what we need, like a backpack of supplies, what we need in life as far as psychological attributes or different conditioning. Because I'll tell you one thing, my walk has been, you know, different, but I've never felt alone. I never feel lonely. And it's like that would be something like a buffer. That'd be something like something I was given ahead of time that would allow me to navigate this life and do it well because I just never feel lonely. So yeah,
Susan, anything?
comments on that?
Name of something? I don't know. I've had contact since I was a kid, and that you see me freaking glow, and I'm a damn ET myself. And when I'm happy and really relaxed, is what happens. And it comes and goes. Sometimes I can think about it and hold it, but if I can get to this frequency, that's where I can see the ETs and stuff. It's easier for them to come in, and I'm really want some contact. Earlier this week, I had a dream. I was sitting on my porch, and it was weird because I was sitting there smoking a doobie in this dream and laughing, and that's not something I would do out here in Iowa. For one thing, that's not legal. And I was watching Mater chase meth heads and other undesirables like pedophiles down the street, and they were taking them out, and I was just sitting there laughing, and I'm like, "Is this what's going to happen?" Because I know a lot of this is me being a witness to judgment in the legal system and getting called up to stuff, and even not so much. Well, actually, it has happened quite a few times with ET showing up here in my house, and you know, to the point of coming back from ESETI and Myron's pulling me and my client up on a ship, and I was like, "What is back?" This lady, I mean, I knew she was a Lyran descendant, but that she wasn't ready for any of that. It freaked me out a little bit because I didn't want to have to explain to her that all this stuff was real. But I'm kind of getting annoyed that it feels like I've kind of been abandoned down here by myself sometimes, you know.
Yeah, same.
But when I have an emergency, my angels, Team Blue shows up, and there's 3 different kinds of blue ETs. I think they're Arcturian, Andromedan, and I've also got a vaporous female that shows up in a fishbowl helmet. She showed up for an emergency once when I needed help. And she had like a little NASA suit on. And she was like 4'11" maybe. Because that was the thing where somebody with cancer wanted me to do distance healing. And after I did it, she kept interrupting me so I couldn't cut the cords, but she did this intentionally. And she sent this black goo thing into my uterus when we were staying at this hotel we went to settlement on my house. And I'm telling the malignant narcissist, there's something in my uterus and he was trying to blast it with healing energy, and it kept going under each one of my hip bones trying to hide, and he thought we were going to have to go to the ER. And I just called St. Michael, and various blue beams show up. And she showed up and was standing there at the edge of the bed where my knees were hanging off. And when she left, the squid thing was gone, because I could feel the tentacles when we were trying to blast it. And this is stuff that's happening right here in 3D. And I didn't believe in all this black magic. So I moved to Iowa, and they're sending black squid creatures and stuff. And more of the black goo stuff I'm pulling off of people from the projects. One girl had a like black goo in her uterus. She was in South America, and first I was trying to pull it out etherically, and then I was like, heck, this just went in and blasted it out. But and then my client with cancer, that one time, he said, Susan, why didn't you tell me I had cancer? I said, because you knew before you moved here. My guides are only going to tell you what you need to know that you don't already know. And I said, I told you I saw your late wife standing in the doorway, and I got upset thinking she was coming to collect you, and she wasn't. So I was like, thank you. Dude, I don't want any of my clients dying on my table today. I can do without that. I had no trauma being a police and detective and stuff. Yeah. And I always feel real connected and feel momish or big sisterish to my clients anyway. So I went outside, and because he said, I want to pass, don't help me, because then we can heal me. And I just want to go and be with my late wife. I said, okay. So I'm out there praying to my angels, which are my ETs. And I said, please assist him and help him pass in the least painful way we can possibly make for him, making the most comfortable possible, because he had like 6 or 8 weeks left. And while I'm out there, a good Catholic girl crying and praying, I'm help him. I go back in there, and he was face down because I would set up my table and do mobile massage for him. And he lifts his head up and he said, Susan, while you were outside, these 2 blue Superman thing came in. He was like, I was really struggling because he kept getting weaker and weaker, and he was really weak when he told me, that he only had so many weeks to live. And he said, they came and they pushed me up on the table and they flew right real fast, so I wouldn't see him. And I'm getting all misty-eyed. I'm like, I love it when I get confirmations from my ET angels helping people. And I said, what did they look like? And they said they had blue Superman suits on.
Yeah, I've assisted people in crossing over, even if I didn't know them. Just last week it happened to me, and the next day I was assisting somebody cross over, and just the next day somebody told me someone and had died that, I didn't know them, but it was part of the family. I was like, wow, that's interesting. Audrey, I wanted you to touch base on the stargates. I find it interesting that you go through the stargate's true purpose was to be used for interstellar travel, for races that didn't know how to build a starship and didn't want to drain their planetary resources in creating the starship. It was supposed to be free passage, but then the other races came in and things like that. And then just, if you don't mind talking about the different stargates and the time lords and gatekeepers and all that. I know that we are part of the people that are here, part of being gatekeepers for Mother Earth, and also, oh, my glasses broke. Could that be confirmation? And the universe. Wow.
Yeah.
What?
I have a question first, Veronica, if I may, for
Yes, of course.
Audrey, because we had a really cool talk at the event, but I wanted to touch on something that hits me. if I was writing this as a screenplay, the super soldier thing and everything, I would be having people mentoring other people. That'd be the basic storyline would be people Is that what happens? Did you have a mentor or somebody that guided you, or did you just have it all coming to you from a different way? Did you have somebody in your life that was a mentor to you, or did you just, from a child, just embrace it and know it was your walk?
Um, when I was with them, I did not have a mentor. I didn't have one specific being that was my mentor. All I know is that they had, I wanted, at least from what I know, it was a positive gray before it started turning into more of the negative grays. But I specifically remember a nice positive gray that would show up and say, hey, we're taking you to galactic school, or we're taking you to school now. You need to come with us. And they would basically take me to school. I was there with other Bassatory children, or considered as hybrid children, on a ship. I remember playing with a bunch of other children. We would be in a classroom studying about the solar system, the history of Earth, galactic politics, and this continued all the way up, I would have to say, until the age of 5 or 7. And then they told me that I needed to go back home because they were afraid that I wanted to simulate back to Earth or back to human society. So they sent me back, and essentially they suppressed a lot of the knowledge until I was fundamentally ready to understand it. And then it just started to like unravel. It got to the point when I was more in my middle of my 20s, towards the later years of my 20s, where they're like, you need to share this information now. It was sort of like a heavy nudge, or like, you need to talk about this now. You need to educate people about galactic politics because no one else is talking about it. The other star seeds are not talking about it. You have to be the person to basically re-educate about galactic politics. So this is essentially the reason being is just following this nudge to basically create my YouTube channel and start talking about galactic politics, and to basically to help the SSP community as well as the SRC community on the reason why certain things are not being done, but to also explain the reason why the SSP is upset about what's happening out in space, and to also understand how it also correlates to what is happening on Earth.
Well, you seem to have very strong boundaries. That's one thing I noticed about you is that I wouldn't mess with you. It seems like you're able to say no and mean no, and you don't take BS. And it's just something that's
Oh yeah, they taught me since I was an infant up until 3 years old about the understanding of consent.
Mhm.
They said that you need to make sure that your no's mean no and your yes means yes. There is no maybe, or sometimes it's either a yes or a no. There's no in between. And they taught that extremely young, since I was an infant up until 3 years old. And it's because they started getting a lot of data reports about the type of abuse that was happening to a lot of the children. And they were really scared that a lot of their assets would get hijacked by the SSP later on in life. So they're like, when she is somewhat of an infant, like once she starts learning how to talk, that is when we'll start teaching her to understand what consent is.
I respect that 100% because I was not trained that. I was trained humility and compassion and arts. I was not trained boundaries. And I would love to have had the training you had. But anyway, guys, I'll let you get back to your questions.
It's okay, Tom, because somehow it correlates to what I'm dealing with. I've been healing again for the past 3 weeks. I've been reading my book again called Stop Walking on Eggshells, and not to divert, but real quick, things that good thing that Audrey wasn't shown these things, but what we end up with is pretty much border personality disorder when we are abused as children, whether it's sexually or physically abused. And that is why they used us also for the SSP, and because we were already like, you know, being tampered with. We end up, it says when people don't have healthy limits, they need defenses which damage intimacy. These defenses can include control, withdrawal, blaming, rationalizing, intellectualizing, name calling, perfectionism, black and white thinking. When I was in the police academy, a really good friend of mine pulled me over. We had just done a shooting session. We, we had a house that we had to do some training in. And then he's Smith. His name was Smith. Hey, Smith pulled me over. He's like, "Hey, Veronica, come over here." I'm like, "What's up?" And he was also in training. He says, "This is not black and white. Life is not black and white." I'm like, "What do you mean?" He says, "You always want to do things by the book, and this is the way it's done." And I said, "Well, yeah, that's like what my parents, they were Catholic, and we were like, in Spanish it's called hueso colorado, like the red bone marrow or whatever. And it's like, you do this or you die. So it's like, wow, I'm still learning that life is not black and white.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we all are equipped with different skill sets and different personality traits that allow this, and we need to be different. And so in my case, I was to appear naive to draw in all facets of the cabal that they considered me no threat whatsoever. And then they'd open up and tell me information. It worked very, very well. It's just,
Yeah.
I would love to have what Audrey had, because
Mhm.
then I wouldn't have to be messing with all that. But I had my job to do. So I felt really happy inside. I love who I am, but I had to play a role, almost like David in the Bible pretending to be insane. But it did draw everybody out. So I'm wondering if Susan had the same kind of experience too, of having to play a different role. Or Susan, you kind of remind me that sort of like Audrey, you seem to have the real ability to put up a solid, this is who I am and this is what I stand for. And I respect that also. It's like, and Veronica, you seem to have this heart of gold. So I would see you as my colors as far as, what I'm to do. You seem to have
Yeah,
the same.
but Vera looks like she thumped somebody if she needs to.
Kick your butt. Oh yeah, I would defend anybody. That's
Yeah,
innocent.
I see that. Yeah. But I
I would.
do, I was actually handed a book about boundaries. I was handed a book about boundaries when I was being hauled off, and I read it. I'm like, why wasn't this ever shown to me? No's are easy when you exercise no's. Now I do it. Now I'm like, no, no, I'm not.
Yeah,
No.
now I
It's
can
like
do it.
so
Now I can do it.
simple, so simple.
Exactly. Now, real quick, and then it goes on to say threats, fighting about false issues, excessive concern for others. That's one thing that I'm working on right now. I cannot, because Audrey, I don't know, how is it with you? Because with me, I don't know with you, I feel like the whole world is on my shoulders and I have to take care of them and I have to prepare them. And everybody that I meet, I know that I'm here to mentor them. I know that I'm picked here. I don't know why, but ever since a child, even I was a child, giving, hugs and saying it's going to be okay, to a child that was the same age as me. It's like they were having problems at home. I was having problems. But it's like, to me, I've always had that. I don't know why. It's just, does it happen to you too, where when you meet someone, you just gotta like go and mentor them and say, "Hey, what can I help you with?" Hey, but you don't necessarily say it that, you know what I'm saying? Like, does it happen?
Um, no. It does not happen to me like that. Mostly everything that I do is mostly based on permission. So you can lead a horse to water, but you can't get the horse to drink that water.
Yeah.
And you can't really help someone if they don't really want that help. And that is something that they basically stilled into me. And then if you try to mentor them when they don't need to be mentored, then you're basically harassing them or um
Well, hopefully I'm not
basically they're
harassing.
just not ready. So essentially is that I was basically told wait until they come to you, or wait until they come and find you, or wait until you're ready to start your journey and things will just come to you. Our little messages, our different confirmations will just come to you, and it has been that way. Everything that I do is mostly based on permission. Um, and so far it has worked very well. And so far, is from I come from the philosophy where you can't really help everybody. And I have seen this a lot. Like you literally cannot help anybody. Like they will flat up refuse. Even though that the help is on the table, they will absolutely refuse it. And I have seen this where people are offered help, they're offered, like everything that they need, and they absolutely flat out refuse it because they have been manipulated, or they're just not mentally ready for it. And so the best thing to do is just wait until they ask for it, wait until they physically, spiritually seek you out, and essentially they may not like what you have to say, but this is your truth. As long as you stay in your truth and share the information that you believe is true, they will come and find you for those answers and for help.
That
You're
was
right.
sad. I'll say what. So my phone broke today, so
Oh,
I
no.
part of the screen, but I want to show you this right here for you guys. It was just sent to me yesterday. 8 signs you have an extremely rare personality on Twitter, and it's like you need to see this, Veronica, especially.
Yeah,
So
send it.
something you need to see. So I'm gonna see if this can get this up there. 8 signs. I can't send it because my phone's broken right now. I got to get it replaced, but I can't put the send message. But 8 signs you have a extremely rare personality. It'll explain why you always wanted to help people and what that comes from. And what Audrey you said is so sound. It really is sound. So again, I
I wonder,
appreciate it.
Tom, if it has to do with trauma, because it could be.
No, not according to this. It's not trauma based at all.
Okay,
It's
good, good.
the whole thing I did. The reason I wrote the screenplay explains it. Everything about it. It is an evolutionary advancement that we're heading towards. And I always knew this even as a child. Humanity is heading towards this degree of psychological abilities and compassion and caring. So it just means we're all advanced. It's just that's what it is. And it's not an ego thing. It's just, that's why they say what you end up doing is wanting to either help people, like Audrey said, you'll want to help people. That's not a great thing. You'll end up almost being a martyr. That's not a good thing. You'll end
No,
up
you don't.
recluse. That's not a good thing. That's a lot of times we react to it because our world today in psychology is saying this isn't normal to want to care so much. You're thinking too much. You're caring too much. You're too complicated. No, actually, we're advancing to what we should be, and as a species, we'll get to where we actually do care that much about everybody and everything. But as Audrey said, we don't have to try to save everybody. That's another reaction is people start try to save everybody. It's not worth it. Don't do it. Just
Right.
enjoying who you are and find that harmony and look for other light workers around you, light people around you. And that's why I wrote the piece too, to draw in those people as a remnant to come. And that's where my comfort would come from, being people that are heart like mine. Anyway, so go to that. You're not defected. You're not anything wrong with you at all. You're just advanced. So yeah.
Thank you, Tom. I appreciate it. Audrey, when I saw you over there, Tom and we talked to you as well. I saw you over there. So what happened is, this is how I found out about you. Dan Guest, hello Dan, because he's always watching. He told me about you. This was in June, before we went to the conference in July, and then he says, "Hey, have you heard of Audrey Walters?" And I'm like, "No." He says, "She wrote this book, Space School Lessons, Volume 1, Beginner's Guide to Galactic Politics." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." So then it wasn't until I met you over there, I started asking you questions about your book, and then I finally ordered it, and I found you so interesting. I found you, as Tom said, advanced, like us, like you knew we were talking about AI, because that's one of my favorite subjects. We were talking about so many things, and I just didn't want that day to end. So that's why I'm like, I had to invite you on so you can just speak your mind and teach us all, and and what you learned, and I'm sure, you know, we can coincide with our stories or whatever. But today's about Audrey. So thank you, Audrey, for being here.
Yeah, so I wouldn't really classify myself with the SSP community. I don't really have a whole lot of precursors that mostly might make me SSP, if that makes sense. Um, I do know that my galactic family has some very big influence to the point where they actually hired a private military group to basically rescue me from the dumps. Um, I actually had that story actually confirmed on my YouTube channel. There's someone who actually physically remembers that. But yeah, I wouldn't really classify myself as an SSP person. I might be a liaison to basically infiltrate the SSP and give the proper ETs about information about what is happening in the SSP. Um, I am a very huge advocate of trying to teach ETs about the type of abuse that is happening to you guys and how long it's been happening, because a lot of the ETs don't know that you guys are like mind fractured or like been abused, and a lot of them um don't really understand a whole lot about humanity as a whole or what's been going on. And I'm also a huge advocate within the SSP to basically to tell them that you need to stop kidnapping children. Like, and I was like, you guys are super soldiers. You guys have psychic abilities. And I talked about this on my Facebook page. Um, you guys don't know how powerful you guys are. They mind fracture you guys, suppress your abilities on purpose because they know how powerful you guys are. If you guys literally unite as super soldiers out of the outer colonies and stuff and with Earth, you guys could basically overthrow the corruptions network system that operates our entire planet. Like, we have the power to actually do that. We have the, like, literally, if you guys learn how to properly heal and reintegrate a lot of your altars back together, or what I call it as soul retrieval process, you guys will have the ability to basically overthrow a lot of the abusive networks. But they're stopping this because they're afraid of us. We can become as powerful as the Draconians and as Anunnaki power. We were like that back during Atlantis and Lemuria. We had the same abilities as our predecessors with the Anunnaki. It's just that they got so scared because we were becoming so powerful to the point that we could overthrow them. So, in a sense, I'm a very big advocate that we need to stop creating fractions within the SSP, that we truly do need to unite. And we really need to stop fighting amongst ourselves with the different fractions that are happening, because they want us to be fractured as a society. Because the more fractured we are as a society, the more easily that we are manipulated and the more easier that we are controlled by other races. Um,
You showed us
so yeah.
real quick, Audrey, on page 231, you came up to me and you said, Veronica, have you had this happen to you? And you read, I was reading consciousness paralysis, yes. Thought loop disorder, yes. Resonance reality psychosis, yes. Reality echo psychosis, all of these I said yes to, and you're like, so you're right. They don't want us to remember who we are. They don't want us to know how powerful we are, and they do want us to be divided within the secret space community. And it's a lot. Ego is a big thing. Who you're. I just got an affirmation. ego and the different races that are posturing us against one another. What I call the dog war, God war, dog war, which is a different ETs betting on, say, Tom, hey, I bet Tom's going to do that. Hey, I bet you Susan's going to do it. How much do you want to bet Veronica's going to, and so they're pawning us off like that as well. And then not only there, but here on earth, like fracturing, within the family. It's not just in outer space. It's not just the dentist chair, it's pretty much everywhere. So I'm glad you're here. And how do you think that maybe doing more of the conferences, or maybe having smaller conference, maybe visiting each other? I mean, I know we're telepathic, so we don't really need to visit each other, but what else do you think we could do as a community when we are divided?
That's mostly something that I am trying to like figure out and understand. Um, because there's a lot of disarray and there's a lot of fighting, and mostly it's like if you don't have actual physical evidence to basically accuse someone, don't accuse them. Like, we're not in high school. We're not here to wage online battles or stuff like that. So I would mostly think that it's nice to have these conferences once a year where all of us, if we are able to go to these conferences and talk amongst each other and get away from all the like BS of fighting and all this other stuff, and actually like sit down and be like, why are they doing this? Like, why are they causing disarray? Like, what are they after? What are we missing? Because chances are, when there's a lot of, how do you want to put it, confusion or disarray, they're distracting us for something bigger, from something big that's supposed to happen. And it's for us to understand what that is, why they're doing it, and essentially how to counteract it. But it's mostly me trying to understand the more complexity of it, like the why, the who, the what, the where, and how much more deeper in depth does it go? Because there's multiple stories about what is actually going on. It's trying to find out what is the actual truth, like what is the actual true intention or purpose behind this.
Right.
That's brilliant. That's absolutely brilliant. Do you know if there's anybody out there that's able to discern? We talk about people with ESP, things like this, but is anybody able to discern when people are just BSing and those ones that are telling the truth? Because it seems like it's muddied. You got so many people that are just making stuff up. You got so many people that are actually telling the truth. And it seems like a tactic by the other side to have this misinformation thrown in with the realist stuff. And it's like it'd be nice if somebody actually had the gift and compassion to actually just say, hey, let's stick to the facts, let's stick to the evidence instead of just
I started noticing that a lot at the conference. Like, my ability was high, like on high volume. And I would have to admit, the girl who was on the panel at the conference, who basically walked off stage, basically made Emmy upset. She was basically BSing everybody. That information, I will admit, was completely false. I saw straight through her story, and I literally, when she came back on stage, I basically walked off because I couldn't handle her energy because she was basically lying. And I basically told everybody like she's an agent. Like she's a handler.
then you have a very tough role, Audrey, because nobody seems to do it. And if that's your role, that's a meaty role. That's a hard role. That's a wow.
It was weird because she showed me and Aida, she showed me a picture of a being. This is mother so and so that just showed up, and I'm like, no, you just took a picture of the girl that was you know, she was dancing and it was like very high, how do you say, like a neon color. I go, no, you just took a picture of that individual that's dancing out there, like you need to get out. I said, you need to leave.
Right.
And so I was
She
like,
was actually the same lady from last conference
yeah,
that
the same.
basically disrupted, and she also was BSing Chris and Joanne, and they also saw straight through her BS as well. So it's like I'm starting to see it a lot more. I mostly like being in the background and observing things because you get to learn a lot about what is actually happening from the background. And but essentially is I'm getting a lot better of using discernment, especially with ETs and with humans. Um, Strangely enough, I'm mostly in this rock and hard place because um a lot of my core foundation of what I believe or understand about my galactic origin has been flipped over. So I'm mostly trying to figure out more about the story I was told about my starseed origins and get the truth about that. But essentially is basically trying to like piece together like mostly myself understanding what's going on and essentially try to come up with solutions and how to fix things. And a lot of it is probably what I would have to say maybe very, very barbaric to some people. But if it gets the job done and it helps, maybe it's not as barbaric as we make it out to believe, in a sense. And we're mostly in this growing pain right now with society. Like we're on this very spiritual, evolutionary process of growing pains right now. Um, when I was in, I guess when I say other council meetings with them, they're like always so scared about the population of Earth decreasing. And I was like, why are you guys so afraid that the population is decreasing? What is your And then all of a sudden, I'm starting to like understand that they don't really understand the social economic stuff that is happening on our planet. So it's mostly like kind of like toggling back and forth between human politics is basically like almost similar to galactic politics, where there's a lot of BS
Yep.
or like what we call as political theater. Um, at at this point, at this point, one of the things that I found out is that they were really trying to suppress my emotional complexes that make me what a human is. So I've been expressing a lot more of my personality and emotions on council. And I did not know this, but people who are very ETs who are very energetically sensitive are actually getting high off of my personality or energy because they're not used to the emotional scale complexities that I emit. I have been confirmed that I am a Celestian. What I mean by Celestian, meaning that I was basically sent here from Source. I ended up reading the Aransha book, and I was on the Aransha podcast, and the Aransha book is very similar to the um I want to consider religion, but it's very similar to what I was taught about galactic philosophy, if that makes sense. And where there is a central hub or a central source meeting center. And essentially, that's where I was from, is basically from source. Like I was basically sent from source to basically figure out like what's happening in this universe, what is happening on this planet, and why are things not getting done. So yeah, so essentially is it's after learning about the grays trying to suppress a lot of my emotionals, it's just that I'm just going to express more and more of my personality that has been suppressed for 20 plus years. So it's just really fun showing it, and they're like, you're a completely utterly different person. I was like, yeah, I'm a completely different person. I'm more centered now. You guys, and they're like not used to it. And I was like, well, you guys better want to get used to it now because I'm not going to be easily manipulated anymore. Like I learned my lesson now. Um, but it is really, really fun. Um, and it is very, very hilarious to learn certain things. And a lot of them I'm actually kind of surprised. Um, I'm teaching them to like understand what social media is on Earth and the new like understanding of social media. I'm mostly teaching a lot of the social dynamics that are occurring on Earth because the last human consultant wasn't doing it. And I was like, I don't understand why you guys keep him around when he's not doing his job. Like, you guys need updated and accurate information about what is happening on Earth. So this is the reason why I created the Human Council. And I was like, we don't need corrupt politicians, we don't need business people or whatever. Like, we need a human council from the general public that are, maybe SSP assets, starseed people, hard laboring people, or like we need a true representation of Earth, and we're not getting this in galactic politics. So that's the reason why I created the Human Council is to basically by like yeah, we represent the general public of Earth. Um Whatever the general public knows is probably what they might know from the military. And the military is like, they only know what we feed them. And they're like, yeah. And then I was like, and then I had a little bit of fun going back and forth because there is also an SSP asset or an SSP personnel that's has their own little council that goes to the Galactic Council. And we kind of like toggle back and forth. And I started to notice that a lot of the ETs like coming to me because I represent the general public than the military, and they get jealous about it. But it is kind of fun, and I love teaching them about Earth, or at least what they think they know about Earth. And essentially, I just sit there and just ask them a lot of questions, and it is just really fun. It's like it's like going to Galactic College and basically like I wish that I could take my own phone there and just like jot down notes, take pictures, like be like a little tourist and just like take notes and stuff. And I'm starting to see a lot of them. They have noticed that I'm getting back into my artwork, so a lot of them like shield their faces because they don't want me to like draw them or like advertise them and be like, and like I understand it now, the reason why they do that. And I was like, and so it's just really fun to like understand galactic politics, philosophy, and it's just fun getting to know every ET beings. It's sort of like being like a little galactic social butterfly.
Yeah, I can relate. Susan and I are part of the Galactic Council of Five, and the judge is a tall white, and then we have an ET that sits with us, and she's a crab lady. She's an actual crab. her face is a crab. And she's really funny. Susan, do you remember? And there's another male. So we're part of, there's another one too. So there's 5 of us, and it's called the Council of 5. And the last time we were there, I remember sitting by the judge. He walked in.
That's probably
About the children.
that's the district court council for this sector. There's the Council of 9, which is the interplanetary. The Council of 5
I'm
is
part
the
of that
district court
too.
It's
system.
a district court because they called us up to testify as police officers to what they were doing with the children that were molested down here. Because we went in the Astral for that because she was sitting at the prosecutor's table, which was funny. And when one guy was a tall white and he looked like Lurch. And there's a lady and she had like this crowd face. It was okay when she was talking, but you didn't want to see her eat because she kind of looked like a predator. Like her mouth, it was.
She was funny though.
She was funny though. They were joking with us and stuff because there's me and Vera were testifying, and those 2 were there, and I had to testify to my time in the Family Services Unit as a detective, and I'm always a hostile witness because I was pissed off that they put crackheads, just people that are drug addicts in jail for 15 years. And you're lucky if the pedophile gets like 2 to 5, for destroying somebody's life.
Yeah. So that was a good 4 years ago.
Yeah, that was a while ago.
4 years ago. I remember calling you right away and saying, hey, I had this is what we did. And you're like, oh yeah, that's part of the children thing. I'm like, okay, did you see this? I'm like, yes. So everything.
Yeah, because I remember texting you next day and I was like, did you just dream we were in court last night? ET court
was weird.
Court.
And then a year before that, I was out in the loop. I was bicycling on my mountain bike, and I saw the 9. I saw the Council of 9, and they told me that I was part of them. And I'm like, okay. So I have a lot of dreams, being in meetings, things like that, in suits, running with paperwork. It seems like I'm always taking care of the super soldiers' paperwork so that they don't like steal it. You know what I'm saying? Like I always have to take it to safety. And then Susan opens the door for me.
What's that?
And then Susan has to open the door for me. There's also a time, I don't want to get into it. There's a lot. I don't even want to go there because Montauk, we'll talk about that another time. But Christy Campbell says, hi, how are you? Anchor Heaven says, I'm part of the Human Council. She says, Audrey is part of the Council of Sovereignty.
Yeah.
And then, yeah. So I was just saying hi to them. The Stargates, I know a lot of us are in charge of Stargates, so that way we'll just say the bad ETs won't come in. But
Yeah, the
Audrey,
gatekeepers.
Gatekeepers, yeah. It is true that the ETs and these beings, we'll call them the Nephilim or the Jinn, whoever you want to call them, they do get high on our emotions. So that's why we have to be very careful, how we're feeling that day, how we're processing our emotions, what's going on, making sure that we are healing, taking the time for ourselves, especially if you drink, alcohol calls the other demons around. So we are getting ready for a huge war, and it is in Revelations. We all know that study the Bible and have been in the church for all of our lives. We know that there is the ultimate war that's going to happen, and that's between God, right, the Jesus, the Christians, and then we'll just say God and those Nephilim beings that are evil. Some of them are good, some of them are bad. A lot of us have the Nephilim bloodline. I know Azazel keeps saying that I'm part of his bloodline, and I'm like, okay, but the Jesus and Mary Magdalene bloodline that I have is stronger, so we win at the end. They want to just keep conquering and dividing all of us, so that way we serve their gods. You know what I mean? That's the ultimate war. The other one before that is going to be the fake alien invasion along with the real alien invasion. And the one before that is going to probably be like a World War III. I mean, it's already happening right now with AI, but could be like China or Taiwan or something. But something is coming. And we that have been in the church since we're little know that it's the ultimate war, right, Tom? We're the ultimate fighters and the guardians. We have
Well,
to prepare.
there's times we all know for a long time.
Sorry.
They spelled it out in that one report, which is just amazing, where they said about the millions that would die in America, England, and other countries. They listed out the statistics of what the casualties would be in this shadow war. So I think it's very interesting that he laid it out in a forecast, a business forecast, that there'd be a diminishing of populations in especially America. Yeah.
And a lot of people say if we would have known when we were born what we were up to, would you bend the knee to these other mother effers, or would you continue? If you knew that you were going to be beheaded, would you you know?
Nope.
I still am bent the knee. Just cut my head off. I don't care.
Yeah.
I will disrespect
my
them till
truth,
the end.
Right, Susan? We know.
Or you come back, the second time around 10 times stronger and a lot of fury.
This is my last rodeo. I'm not coming back.
That's what I think too, for me.
I'm done. What about you, Tom?
I always felt this is it, one timer. Yeah. So anomaly. And it's almost felt like I chose this time that I was to be here for this. I almost volunteered saying, give me the worst time in history. And I got, which is pretty stupid. I could have said, give me the best time and be in Atlantis, but I said, give me the worst time. So I could, that was quite a naive, noble thing to say. But anyway, so here I am.
But didn't we like divert the ending in fire timeline? Because that was one I kept dreaming about in junior high and high school. And that timeline was supposed to end by the time I was 21, and here I am a grandmom. So it's to divert that.
Well, the good thing is too, stumbling into this lifetime, it's like I then get to ask, can we change it? Can we make a difference? Can we improve ourselves? So it was really fun. It was like came in naive, but then it's like I'm able to dance with others to change timelines. So that's through art and everything else.
Yeah. The word that came, I was doing some junk journaling 2 days ago, and the word that came was nostalgia, and then the other one is having a laugh. And I've been feeling very nostalgic recently because I understand now why I'm here, and I have declared war on my enemies, and I don't believe in keeping enemies closer anymore. I believe I know who I am. I know who I am in Christ. So I declared war on them, and it's on.
My enemies are so unintelligent that I'm bored around them, so I don't want them.
You're funny, Tom. My hat's off to you, man. The life that you've been through. My hat's off.
I get to hang with the best people, the very sweet people, the nice people.
Yeah.
Fascinated by you guys, and it's very, very comforting to know you all. So I know.
They seem much happier and calm since the conference, Tom.
Oh yeah, well, there's so many energies at a conference. I kept telling people, I said, I sense so much conflict and so much, ego and anger and misplaced pride. And I kept going to the beach, but I love what Brian did. I'm so glad he had me there, but I had to keep escaping the various personalities that I just didn't want to entertain.
Yeah. I think we were swimming like at 3 in the morning, and I heard the dolphins, and that was fun. That was the time that we had because we had to, work during the day, but I love the water. The water's totally recalibrated me. And Audrey, did you get to go swimming?
I got to put my feet in the water at night. That was really nice. It felt like going into a hot tub at night. But But yeah, it was nice feeling the ocean water. I have never felt the ocean that warm before. The last time that I remember that it was like very, very freezing and frigid. And so it is actually kind of very interesting to see the ocean. There is a lot of suppressed energy happening in our oceans. Like we're so focused on doing the work here on land, but we're not so focused on the ocean. I do believe that the ocean needs a lot more energy work than what it's really than in what it's really getting. And I really do believe that once we focus a lot more energy on our ocean, I do believe things will start to like clear out because because water basically stores energy. And so if you notice like all like the wars and turmoil, like the ocean is absorbing that. And no one's like going in and cleansing that energy from the ocean so
We were
that
singing, we
we
were
don't
singing
like
the ocean, and we got to sing with the dolphins. And no, but I think Audrey, I think yeah, I was singing with Amy, and we heard the dolphins, so we were just so happy. I think what you're also feeling, Amy, Audrey, sorry, is the energy, and the energy's coming from underneath the water, like way under, because there are spaceships underneath that are absorbing they run by seawater. There are bases underground, as you know. So there are afflictions there too. There are children. I mean, I was taken down under for the dolphin program. I call it the Crystal Gates program. But yes, you are right. More of us need to go, even if we don't go physically. In our mind, I go at night and I talk with the dolphins, and I'm like, okay, where are we going today? There has to be some kind of clearing, just even sending love to the dolphins, and because they do a lot of work. There's also what they call tag-alongs. If you listen to Daniel from Dark Journalists, he talks a lot about the tag-along beings that are used for the Kona Blue project, which is pretty much they take information from underneath the ground, underground to the upper ships and atmosphere and the cities there. That is a very touchy subject. The government doesn't want us to know about that. So the government doesn't want us to know that dolphins also help with certain things. So if you listen to Daniel from Dark Journalist, he talks about that. And there's been others, that talk about how the seawater is also being used for certain ships underground that can go above. So yes, you're right, Audrey. The waters moving.
Maybe think of it. I'm fascinated how the Pentagon and these whistleblowers announced about aliens and how it's so real and everything. And the government was able to control the reaction of the population where they didn't really get excited or react much. They just took it as if, that was monumental to have that disclosed, but it was just like, eh. And it's almost like them telling, the Kennedy files opened up and saying, yes, this happened, and they just go, eh. It's like, what's happened to humanity's ability to go, oh my God, let's get behind this, let's find out more, let's delve in. It was almost like they put them asleep by announcing the alien files. I don't get it. Humanity is so, you know, dulled down that there wasn't any follow-up. And then they kept being told, we're going to the shift room or whatever it's called, the skiff room. Skiff. We'll do a skiff. Okay, we'll do a skiff. We'll do a skiff. And it's like everybody's satisfied. I didn't see anybody really reacting. Well, they said, open us up more, open up more. So if aliens are watching our planet, they must think we're the dumbest species in the world. Go along with these idiots. Like I said, the people that bore me to death are the ones calling the shots. And our artists are being silenced in the process. And they're killing the passion of people. And the only way we're going to evolve is by activating our passions and allowing ourselves to be dynamic individuals, which children respond to. But I just made me think of that.
Right, yeah.
Where's
You're right.
growth from that disclosure? Where's the growth from that? And we can't let them operate a fake alien invasion and they're setting it up perfectly by releasing this stuff. So I just think it's a hot topic.
Yep, you're right. No, and Luis Elizondo, he still works for the CIA. He's still getting paid by the CIA. So, oh, I used to work for the CIA. No, you're still working for them for disinformation.
And what do you really
You know,
tell,
and
they really tell us? They told us what we already know. We've seen the tic tac, and they call it the tic tac. I mean, come on. It's like 3 Mile. Saturday Night Live did a joke about 3 Mile Island. They said, okay, here's how it works. Your toaster plugs into this, and they had this whole spoof skit on how they cover up what's really going on. And that was back in the day. Same thing still going on. We cannot let them control the narrative. And if they open a door, we need to seize that door and open it more. We can't just let them open that door and say, okay, kids, now to go to bed. Daddy and mommy showed you the information. Now go to bed. No, we want to see the full candy store. We want to know what's behind that door and what's going on. We're going to open further. Got to be.
what's the swirlies, right? What are those portals? What are those wormholes? Okay, so that's why we have channels like this and Audrey's and Susan's and yours, Tom, because that's what we talk about. You know, we've talked about here many times what CERN wants to do. They're pretty much summoning the demons of their, of their ancestors. They want to take us to another, they call it the new earth. Bull crap. They want to take a bunch of sleeper cells.
Not
I
summoning.
do not consent. I do not consent to having this new.
What
Right, because they're afraid that wormwood's coming. It says it in the Bible too, in Revelations.
Yeah, what Audrey said about our power. We do have the power. I mean, many of us were meant to lead. I was told that many times. I'm meant to lead. I know that. So I put on this naivety act for so long, so I'm not killed. But then I'm also absorbing everything at the same time. If we reset our timeline where those that are supposed to lead, like those listening in, those of us that are supposed to lead actually get to lead, we can make this world right in a couple minutes. We could really turn it all around easily because we have the attributes. And like we started opening this discussion, we were trained. We were trained with these different abilities. Like Audrey was saying, the ability to say no. I've learned the ability to say no now, so I'm quite a dangerous creature in that regard. Now I appear naive, but I can say no very well. And I can also read people very quickly because I had to do that my whole life. So I'm ready to take my place, just like many of us are. And we can turn this world around. But we go with our narrative. It's got to stop.
Yeah, Tom, and then I want to just tell you all, please don't let these aliens also say, "Oh, our race is dying. We need your blood," because that's what
we need your eggs.
What?
Yeah, we need your eggs. We're just gonna steal you out of your bed at night, put a big giant needle in your ovaries, and suck out eggs.
Just like in the movie Jupiter. And the
Well,
granny.
I just remember that really hurting. I didn't consent to any of that. So I'm pissed off if they took any of my eggs and made them into hybrids that they're experimenting on.
Well, they've been sending me energy weapons for now, starting in June. They started cramping up my ovaries. So they're burning. They're pretty much calambre. How do you say calambre? They're when you get calambre on your leg, Charlie horse. Okay, so it's like Charlie horses on both ovaries with every hot flash. So, and yes, I have other children in the astral. And yes, I was part of the breeding program. I know what they do. They put the blue paint on your belly, and then to make sure that this is the O negatives. Okay, this is an O negative baby, meaning it's part alien. So I don't consent to that. Just I know a lot of people in the community are in love with aliens, thinking, "Oh, take me." No, you don't want to be taken. That stuff that they did to us hurt.
On the race, on the race, wouldn't it? Those benevolent and not benevolent, and like
come on, I would not want to be taken by the good races, even if there are any races.
What did you say, Audrey? You're from what group?
At this point in stage of my life, I don't really know anymore. I thought I knew, but I don't after some changes, but I honestly don't know at this point.
Because I thought you mentioned a name or something. There was a name you mentioned of, I thought it was like other beings or something that you discovered something, but maybe not.
She said something about being a celestial, which all of us are because we're from
Oh,
stars. We're
okay.
star seeds. We're stars. Yeah, we're stars. Some of us are, from Andromeda or other galaxies. Some of us are galaxies. Some of us are stars, but we're all celestial beings. Most of us, unless there's some here that are NPCs, and we'll call them the zombie agenda, the half cyborg
I
people.
don't really believe that type of concept that we're all Celestians and stuff like that. I don't really believe that concept.
Well, most humans are, according to Carrie Cassidy. She says most of us are from the stars.
You know how I feel with the circle.
No,
Some
actually,
of us,
no.
we are all born, in the Bible it says we are all born with demons. Those are the Nephilim bloodlines that want to live here. So I'm not saying that all of us are like stars. I'm saying most of us, not all of us. I'm sorry. Blank that
Yeah,
out.
when you deal with ETs and deal with information, you have to be extremely specific about what you mean. So when you say everybody, they're mostly meaning like the entire population of Earth.
No.
It's not accurate. And so that's essentially what I understand. To be honest, I just want to like clarify that when you're dealing with ET politics, you have to be very precise about your information, who, what, where, when, and why. You have to
Yes,
be
because they are part AI, like with Google and Brave. You can only ask AI one question at a time because they're going to be like not understanding. Like, first of all, they hardly understand us humans. But yeah, I understand what you're saying, Audrey. And no, I didn't mean to say everyone is a star. What I'm saying is most humans are stars. Most, but that's why we have DNA testing and things like that. That way, and what they call junk DNA, that's what is our star family, we'll just say. Or that's where our abilities come from, some say, you know. But so where can they find your book, Audrey?
it is on Amazon. It's on Amazon. And it's on Amazon for paperback and Kindle. If people don't want to buy it off of Amazon and wanted to buy it directly from me, they can do that also. And I can just give them a PDF version of that. But other than that, it is on Amazon for people to order. And one of the things you need to know about my book is like a journal or a guidebook, so you can write in it, take notes, highlight and stuff. That's the intended purpose of the book is just basically for people to like draw on it, write notes, and yeah.
Yeah, she has a space here for notes, and she has that diagram that we started talking about. She talks about linear time, real time, history of the SSP, category of species, very interesting, um, characteristics, and yes, co-inhabitation laws. That's what she was also talking about. I'm glad that you wrote this book, and I'm grateful that I met you, Audrey. Are you also on Facebook, or where else can people get a hold of
I'm
you?
on
If they'd like to?
YouTube. I am also on Facebook for people to reach out to me. I have my business email, which is starseednetlink@gmail.com. I'm also on Telegram if people want to get a hold of me. I do also have my spiritual consultant services as well if people want to book a session with me as well. Um, I am also in the process of trying to write my second book that's also connected to that, so hopefully I can get that started next year. And I'm also created the Human Council of Sovereignty, so if anybody who in the audience is interested in joining, they can contact me over Facebook, Telegram, and all of that. And and then I can send over an application and people can fill it out if they want to join or not. But yeah, it's my YouTube channel is called Starseed Netlink. And my book is based off of my popular YouTube series called Space School Lessons. And that mostly dives into a lot of the topics that I talk about that associated with my book.
Perfect, thank you. And Tom and Susan, do you want to tell everybody where you can be reached?
Go ahead, Susan.
Oh, I'm at Divine Connections with Susan.com and on Facebook, IG, and TikTok.
Thank you.
Mhm. Yeah, TomOldhouse.com. They made it easy for me, which is sweet. Those
I'll
that made
write all your guys' links down. Audrey, if you don't mind, just send me something so I can copy and paste, and that way everybody has everything. You can Google my name. I'm Veronica Bartolini with Codebreaker Real Talk, Unchained Hearts. You'll find me everywhere on social media. My books are on Amazon also. I do readings, and it's been great having you on, Audrey. And if you ever want to be on again, we're on every Wednesday at 3 p.m. same time, Arizona time. Okay. Thanks, guys. Have a
Okay.
great day.
Thank you so much for having me.
Welcome, Audrey.